Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle. Welcome back. I just wanted to quickly record this because I was in the middle of something, and I thought, let me just quickly pop in because some people need this message. Okay, I wanted to share a message that I received from the Lord this morning while I was in the Word and asking questions. And I'm reminded now because there's a lot of people who question God, and there's a lot of people who ask questions from God. And there's a difference. People who question God question Him because they don't believe Him. But people who ask questions, they are looking for clarity. So this message is just going to give you clarity because there's a lot of people who've been fighting and not just fighting spiritual battles, but even in the physical, because you seem like you've done everything right. You've done what God has asked you to do. You've gone to places where God has asked you to do, and now you are stuck, and it feels like you are on your own, and it feels like everything that was supposed to go, or it was supposed to go smoothly, and nothing is happening. And I just wanted to remind you, because as I was having this conversation with the Lord, He was highlighting how a lot of people come to God because they want the gifts, they don't want the giver. And it was a process of, would you still be after God if He hadn't promised you anything? Would you still want a relationship with Him? Like an example, you as a human being hate it when people only come to you to look for stuff. Like they just come get and get and get, and it depletes you, it exhausts you, and you feel like, why won't people love me? And I keep going through these things with people, showing them love, giving them things because I'm doing it out of love. I want to show love, but they just arrive and they take, and then they leave you, and they leave you empty. And that's not how God works. If you don't like it when people do that to you, why would you want to do that to God? That's number one. But the point of this message is to encourage you, who has been waiting for God's promises. And I'm reminded now of the story of Joseph. And if you remember Joseph, um, Joseph of the coat with many colors, his father favored him over his brothers. And Joseph was a dreamer, and he received this dream from God. And the dream, he tells his brothers the dream. They hate him. He tells his father the dream. He rebukes him because the dream was specifically saying that the family is gonna bow down to Joseph. But they did not have the full story of the dream. But they knew that it meant Joseph is going to be in power, and they all have to come and bow down at his feet. And because they did not have the full picture, because they had no idea that God was doing this for them, so that He was setting them up so that they could, in time of famine, will be able to be served. And this is the thing about the purpose of God. We need to understand, when God gives you a promise or a blessing, it's not for your enjoyment, it's for the purpose. There's a purpose behind whatever promise He has given you. Just like the purpose behind Abraham's promise that he will have many children through the seed of Isaac. That was the promise. Isaac was the promise. Even though Abraham wanted a child with Sarah so much, and they were happy with just having a child together, but God looks beyond what you see with your eye. So I want to encourage you right now that God will not give you a promise and not make it happen. And today, my son and I had an outing school project. I homeschool him. And as we were looking at this minerals. There were over 200 minerals that we were looking at, and they're shaped differently, and they're beautiful and whatever. And I'm looking at them thinking to myself, God spoke everything into existence. He spoke all of these minerals, all these different minerals into existence. He just spoke and they were there, and they each have a purpose. We see beauty, we see, oh, crystals, oh, this, it's beautiful, I can use it for this, but there's a bigger picture than that. And when I was looking at how big God, through just watching over 200 minerals that there are, and how God just spoke that into existence, what makes you think that when God spoke over your life and said this is going to happen, it's not going to happen? We need to remember that once God says something, it is done. Isaiah 55 said that. Isaiah 55 verse 11. His words will not come back to him void. So that means if he said it, not if you said it, if he said it, it's going to be done. If he said whatever, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's not about how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. If he spoke it, it's going to happen. Okay, back to the word. Joseph. And look at Joseph. His brothers, because they were angry, they decided to sell him. And they sell him, and he ends up in Egypt. In Egypt, he works for Potiphar, and Potiphar put him in position to look after his whole entire house. We're just talking about a house. In that, he was being prepared to run the entire country, okay, just by being faithful with the house. So right now, where you are, God has put you in charge of this small little thing. It looks small according to you, because you feel like you are stuck in this place and you're trying to move things around, and you keep making the right moves, but you're getting backlash, and you're getting all of these bad things happening while you're doing exactly what God said you must do. It does not mean you should peg up and run. It does not mean that. It just means that God is trying to mold your character, so that where you are going, where he's preparing for you, you're going to meet challenges that are bigger than Potiphar's wife. You're going to meet challenges, but it does not mean you need to change your character to suit whatever place that you're placed in right now. So this is what blesses me. In Genesis 39 verse 9, Joseph is speaking to Potiphar's wife when she wanted to sleep with him. He says, "No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" He was not really worried about sinning against Potiphar himself, but about God, because he knows even in Potiphar's house, even while he's working for Potiphar, he is serving God. The bigger picture is God. So when God gave you that promise, are you really willing to walk away from the promise that God gave you because of this one little thing that seems like it's gonna kill you? It feels like your death. Because what happens to Joseph right after this, he runs because she tried to grab him, and then he runs away. She cries rape. He goes to jail for something he did not do. He did everything right and ends up in jail. What does that tell you? You might be doing everything right and still be on the wrong with the people that you are working with, and still be judged wrong because you are doing exactly what God told you to do. And in that instance, do what God says you must do anyway, even if it lands you in jail, because Joseph went in jail. Joseph went in jail and still did what God said he must do. Even in jail, he did what he was called to do. He did not just disappear and give up because things or times were tough, because he knew his God. It is time that we trust in the promise. Every time you're feeling weak, every time you feel like you want to walk away, every time you feel like you want to give up, trust in your God. Even in jail, he said to the people that he helped, please do not forget to mention my name to Pharaoh. They didn't mention his name. Only 2 years later, when the dream came about with Pharaoh, then they started mentioning his name. Remember why God called you to the position you are in right now, and continue to do exactly that, because that is what you are called to do. Emotions are taking over. The warfare is real because the enemy knows you're this close. He knows you are this close, and if he allows you to just smoothly go through, he knows it's game over. So I wanted to encourage you today, do not give up. Do not put down the do not put it down. Fight, okay? Have your armor on, fight. And I know we are tired of fighting because it seems like we every day is a battle. Fight. Don't quit now. Okay, I just wanted to record this quickly. I know I look a mess and I'm tired and all of that, but I wanted to share this message with you guys because it encouraged me in a moment where I was feeling like, okay, Lord, I'm here. So please remind me why I'm here. Because sometimes there will be times where it becomes difficult. There will be times where it becomes difficult. And those are the times we need to go back to God, not to the world, not to other people, to verify the meeting we had with God. Go back to God and ask him, Lord, what am I supposed to do right now? How am I supposed to go through this? Do I hit it with a rod like Moses, or do I step in with my feet so that these waters can part? Trust me, he will be there because he said he will never leave you nor forsake you. Trust his word. He will not come back to him void. Until next time, to God be the glory.